Hello and welcome to Space Shark Teaches. I'm Sean from Space Shark Studios, and I'm here to teach you GDScript in Godot 3.1. Let's get started. Welcome back. In the last lesson, we taught you how to animate your player character. The problem being, he now animates very fast because he's tied to the frame rate of the game, or more specifically, the physics frame rate, which is 60 frames a second. In this lesson, we're going to finish off animation by teaching you how to control the animation speed of your character using variables that you create. There will also be an extra lesson after this to teach you how to animate your player character using animation sprites, just like you did with the platforms instead. But for now, we're going to finish this up using scripting so you can kind of tell how all of that happens under the hood. So to start with, as always, we go back into the player, specifically the player script. So right now, we've kind of gotten it broken up. We have the animation down here, everything else up here. We're going to start by moving some stuff around. So I'm going to Control X to cut and then paste it up here so that we start having everything all together. And we can go ahead and remove some of the unused commented out code. So we're doing a little bit of code cleanup right now. Next, I'm going to have you actually update and add some new variables. So first, we are going to make animations per second. Let's just default that to 2. So this is pretty straightforward. It's the number of animations that will happen per second. Next, we have physics cycles per second. And right now that's defaulted to 60. And finally, we have 2 private variables, so variables that you won't be able to get to from the inspector. This is cycles per animation frame. And so this is actually the physics cycles between new animation frames. And then cycles since last animation frame. This is the physics cycles since last time the last new animation frame. So hopefully the names of these are pretty straightforward. So this is the number of animations that we want to play per second. This is the number of physics cycles that happen per second. Right now it's 60. In order to see how many you have, you can go up to Project, Project Settings, and then down in Physics, you can actually see that it's set to Physics FPS is 60. Finally, we have the number of physics cycles that are supposed to happen between animation frames, and then the number of physics cycles that have happened since the last animation frame has been updated. Once we've done all that, we get to do some math in Ready. Specifically, we're trying to get from the variables we have here to figure out the number of cycles per animation frame. We're going to be using the animations per second, the frames per animation, and the physics cycles per second. So to start with, we are going to use animations per second and frames per animation, multiply them together to get animation frames per second. So we can make in here var called frames per second, and that is going to be animations per second times frames per animation. The animation parts cancel each other out, and you're left with frames per second. Next, we want to use frames per second and physics cycles per second in order to get physics cycles per frame. Now you can see here that I'm multiplying the 2 together to show that the seconds cancel out. But what this actually means is that we're going to be dividing physics cycles per second by frames per second. So now we have cycles per animation frame is equal to physics cycles per second divided by frames per second. And then finally, we want to set this to 0 because that's how it defaults. Or that's how it should be defaulting, is starting at 0 cycles since the last time we've updated an animation frame. Next is really the easiest of all. We want to say cycles sense is equal to cycles sense plus 1, because we always want to keep updating that. And if cycles since last animation frame are greater than or equal to cycles per animation frame, we do all that. So now, if it has been enough cycles based on the number of cycles per animation frame, based on the animation speed, we want to move the current frame up 1 and then set which sprite frame it should be using. The final thing we need to do here is say cycles since last animation frame is now 0. So let's see what it looks like. And there you go. Your little guy is moving correctly, and you did it all with code that you wrote on your own. And that's it. You can go and play around with it now. If you want to say, I want him to go 5 frames a second. He'll now walk a little bit faster, a little jankier. You can go really slow. He's kind of moonwalking. But that's basically it. You are now done, and go forth. The next lesson I'm going to be putting up is going to be an extras lesson on how to control animation of your character using animated sprites. And after that, I will be putting up the next real lesson, which is how to get your platforms to move via code. So, see you then. Thank you for watching Space Shark Teaches. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel and remember to click the bell to always stay up to date. Please also join us on our Discord, linked in the comments, and check out our other videos if you ever want to see what else we've been up to. Thanks again for watching, and we can't wait to see what you make.